It is our Friday morning call, as we know. We love our Friday call because we get to speak to the best in the business at what they do. And I'm excited today because somebody who I consider a friend is joining us, who we met not so long ago, right? Brian Waddell here, who's, he's a financial planner, but he's so much more than a financial planner. Brian, Brian's over there. I always assume financial planners are like spreadsheet guys, Brian is not a spreadsheet guy. Brian is Brian's a guy that leads with his heart in a way that is monumentally impressive and something that all of us could learn a thing or two from. So, Brian, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this call, I'm gonna give you a little background. This call started 6, 7 years ago when I was going through the early machinations of, what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to lead other people? And the energy that I was putting into trying to help, move people from where they were to where they wanted to be was often a lot like what I see you doing. I was getting on airplanes, I was flying to places, I was meeting with people, I was learning so much, I was immersing myself in how to become a better version of me so that I could be a better leader. And I realized that I had all these people who were thirsty for that kind of knowledge, but I was actually not so great at the conversion of information. I wasn't so awesome at the transfer. I would go and I would get in really powerful rooms. Didn't I see last week you were with like Tony Robbins or something like that? You were in some room last week with some pretty powerful people. Who were you hanging out with?
Been grateful. I've been in some good rooms this year. Might have been talking about Dave Meltzer, Robert Kiyosaki. That was a couple
That
weeks ago.
guy. Yeah, we know a little bit about Robert
Yeah,
Kiyosaki. So
yeah.
yeah, so I would get in these fantastic rooms with people like that, and I would learn everything that I had to learn, and then I would come back to the team and I would try to immerse them in what I had learned in that experience, and realize I was not succeeding at a high level. That like the lessons were lost, the experience was gone. And so one of my key principles in leadership is don't be the bottleneck. One of my personal ways of knowing whether or not I'm doing my job is, am I willing to get out of the way when it's time to get out of the way? And so I started simply by saying the best thing I can do is get out of the way, stop trying to be the voice of every powerful lesson and bring the powerful lessons to the team. So every single week since then, just about, we have a guest come and speak to the team. The only filter for our guests is they have to have been a person who has inspired you personally, who is somebody that I look up to as a mentor and a leader that I've learned from. And you're one of those people, my friend. So thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate you, brother. You're filling my cup up on a Friday morning already. I think this might actually technically be the second time I've jumped into a Miale team call. Chris Grant, I think, actually invited me a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
Now that I think
Okay.
about it, yeah, I have been
Awesome.
here
Yeah.
before. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
a
we did.
Friday, but it was
We
a
did. It
day.
probably was because for a while, Chris had taken the lead on running some of these calls for a while. This
Yeah,
was definitely a few years ago,
yeah.
probably 3 or 4 years ago. So that's cool, man. So well, welcome back. And
Appreciate you.
what I want to hear, what everybody here wants to hear, because what's most interesting is not nobody cares about your financial planning business any more than anybody cares about our real estate business. What we care about is the person behind it, because there's a journey that we all go through when we build something big and interesting. And whether it's financial planning or real estate or insurance or anything like that. Bennett's sharing the screen. I don't know what Bennett's got going on. Bennett's got something. What are you doing, Bennett? What's happening
Uh-oh.
here? What
This is the
what
this is the
what's
Instagram world.
I don't think Bennett knows what he's. Hey, Bennett
No,
didn't
did you
know he was
see
taking
it was
over.
you didn't see this the quick time July 13th 2022, and Brian's got a
Okay.
suit on and a tie. I was trying to share.
Oh
Did that not go through?
It
no,
did.
I saw it. I just didn't know what you were doing. Nobody
I
knew what was
loved it. I had
happening.
less gray
Yeah,
hair.
yeah.
Exactly. It was July 13th, 2022, and yes, he was on with Chris Grant was our host. And yeah, and you had a
Awesome,
suit, you had a blue
Wow.
tie. Yeah, that was 3 years
awesome,
ago, 4 years
Excellent.
ago.
Thanks for
So
digging that up.
awesome. Thanks, Bennett. Yeah. So what we love to learn, Brian, is the man behind the story, right? Like what you've done and what I've, you and I got to know each other through Dads in Business. And I think that's an insanely compelling story. I'm such a huge fan of what you built there. Um, but before that, there was a guy who was trying to find his way, figure it out. Take us back to, call it the beginning, right? Whatever the beginning is for you on this leadership and personal development journey that you're on. Take us back to that. When did it start? When did that egg first crack to open up your world to thinking bigger, doing bigger things?
Yeah, great question. And I just want to start by acknowledging, thank you again for having me. I appreciate this invitation because I've followed you and your team for a while. You've been a leader that I followed locally here. It's a privilege to be here, Matt. It's been a privilege to become friends together. And I love the Rush music coming into here today to just get me jazzed up because I just
See
dropped my
it.
daughter off at school. I had to let my dog out. I forgot something at home. I had to run home. And I got a little bit of that just flowing through my veins. That Rush music just kind of set me
Yeah,
straight. I got
you
going on
got
my,
it.
my affirmations, my Tony Robbins. I create wealth and love by serving and inspiring others. And I'm coming in here with the right frame. You got me going right on a Friday morning. So appreciate you. That's leadership in and of itself. Not every team does stuff like that.
I
You
know.
know, I try to go into my team meetings doing a little bit of the Rocky Balboa theme music going in there. If I'm trying to jazz everybody up, let's all get in the right frame. The right mindset's going to lead to everything that
Yeah.
we.
It's a really interesting point. I just want to jump on it. As a leader, one of the most awkward things to do is to try something that everybody knows feels a little bit awkward or weird, right? And so but that's a little bit of what real leaders are willing to do. Like playing Rush music, we make sure we always have music before every call. And you open yourself up to criticism, you open yourself up to eye rolls, you open yourself up to an audience that isn't going to buy what you're selling. And I just made a decision a while ago that those aren't my people. And so if you can't buy the corny, if you can't get into the way we roll, the way we pump ourselves up, the affirmations and all that stuff, you're just probably on the wrong team. But leadership takes that's the risk that a leader has to take, is they have to be willing to stand on, I think this is who we are and how I want it to feel. And if you're not willing to do it, you're probably struggling with who you are as a leader. Sort of that very first element.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to stand out, then you'll always be the same.
That's right. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, especially one of the things that I've been most drawn to about, I mean, really, I mean, the real estate industry. My mother was a realtor for 30 years almost, Century 21 most of her career, but ended up at Keller Williams via Chris Grant.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always appreciated most about Chris and your culture there is the culture of personal development, always trying to improve yourselves. And I mean, that kind of always instilled in me leadership. There's always room to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
as I've grown into a leadership position in my own team here, it's I mean, really what I think drives the leadership journey more than anything is people are watching. And maybe at
Yeah.
no time in my life was that made more clear to me. And just as simple as becoming a father,
Yeah.
what's the example I want to set for my kids? Who's the person
Mm-hmm.
that I have to become to be that person? Um, the old Jim Rohn, it's not about what you get, it's about who you become in the journey.
Yep.
So many words. Um, so probably more than anything was when I had to when it wasn't about trying to impress other people around me or in our industry. I come from an industry, or I guess my journey is in an industry that's known maybe more than any other for being old school, for being compliant. And there's a lot of reasons why we have to be compliant. We can't just go out and share, but um, the financial services industry is not alone in that people are um, just kind of stuck in the same. And if you
Yeah.
want to be part of the change, then it takes a leadership initiative and doing something different.
So when did that become clear to you? So like your daughter is how old now?
7 years old.
7. So you mentioned that became obvious to you, that people were watching when she was born, that was sort of an early version of like, okay, maybe there's something different or some different behavior that I need to Like, because I think we all have these moments where we recognize like something about the journey I'm on has to be different.
Yeah. And I mean, it comes to a point where for me, so much, I mean, industry is one thing and all that, but I mean, really, there was a few catalysts that made me need to change is when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's when you change,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
when
That's
it
powerful.
was
That's good.
a few things kind of came crashing down me in a short period of time, and it was COVID. The world was changing. I was stuck at home. I just separated with my daughter's mother. And we weren't married, but we were trying to make it work for the first year. Then COVID happened, and it was just like, are we going to live in a house together? Shut down. So that happened. Family court ensued. There were certain, let's just say that process does not bring out the best in anybody. So it became, unfortunately, kind of the worst came out, and had to deal with the worst of what can happen in that process. Unfortunately, we're in great terms right now. You eventually get there, but just unfortunately, that process is what it is. And so it really made things clear to me that, okay, I have to come out of this a better version than how I went into it
Yeah.
because I wasn't going to let myself stay the same and just deal with the pain for nothing.
Right.
So then what do I got to do? I became very intentional about who I started surrounding myself with. We all know we're the average of the people that we spend the most time with. Being more intentional about that. And so that started with just,
Were
guys.
there, yeah, just make that comment really, just to park on that for a minute, because I think a lot of people struggle with this. That decision about intentionally being around different people, for a lot of people, especially in our industry where we're loaded with people pleasers, we're loaded with people that want everyone to be pacified and happy. Um, that's a decision that a lot of people struggle with, where they see that almost as abandonment as opposed to improvement. And I know I personally struggle with that. For you, what did that look like? How did you get into, like, because we have friends that we've been friends with for 30 years, but we know they're not moving the needle forward, right? They're not. That's not the ad. We don't want them in the five average, right? We want to move the. How did you get intentional about that, Brian? What did that look like for you?
Great question. I mean, I guess some sort of realizations of my own came across this book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, Dr. Robert Glover. Saw that I saw an interview with the author on Patrick Bet David podcast years ago. I don't want to say this is the only thing, but it was one of those things that just kind of kept me going in this direction of going away from being a people pleaser. I had always been a people pleaser, Catholic boy, um, what grew up in a small school. I was desperate to be accepted when I went into public schools growing up. So I really was just I just wanted to fit in my whole life. And so I would do anything to please people. And I was, I had a career in the restaurant industry for a long time, which is just trying to please people more. And I learned a lot and a lot of good that all came from that. But I was more of a people pleaser than anything. How I showed up in relationships with significant others was also not exactly it wasn't exactly helping my relationships either. And so, I started down that journey of just showing up as not a bad guy, but a good guy, not a nice guy, but a good guy. If all you do is people
Mm,
please and try to make everybody happy, no one ends up happy. And most importantly, you don't. You don't get anywhere,
hmm.
right? So I guess that started to separate kind of like trying to be inclusive of everything, be all things to all people, which anybody in sales know that that's a recipe for disaster because you are the
Right.
same as everybody else. You're a commodity. People buy the person and they want to be able to resonate with the person, all that good stuff. But really taking a turn from trying to be so inclusive to really exclusive. Here's what I'm not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you start identifying who the right people were to be around?
People that were going to help me become either a better father, a better leader, better business person, if they were in some way serving my life's vision, bigger picture, or not.
I love the clarity right there. Father, leader, business. Like you didn't, it wasn't, let me just go find a bunch of people to hang around. It was, I want to be a better father, I want to be a better leader, and I want to own a better business. So who are the people that I can be around that know how to do that?
Right. We're the average of the people that we spend the most time with. And we get
Hmm.
to a point as, as men certainly, but anybody in a professional capacity, at some point in life, it's like your friends, there has to be an exchange of value of some sort. You got to be providing something of value to somebody else. People will seek you out if you're a person that has something to offer,
Right.
right? And if
Right.
that thing to offer is of value to somebody else, then that's where there's an alignment. That's a relationship,
Yeah.
right? And
So you're in this season of your life, like where you've just gotten divorced, or not divorced, but you've had a separation with your significant other. There's custody concerns over your daughter. You're recognizing, okay, where I am is not where I want to be. You've said this very powerful statement a couple of times: when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, you make the change. So you start making moves, and you made this there's this pivotal decision that you've drawn yourself to around, like, I got to get in rooms with different people. I got to create a different tribe, a different community. Take us back to that, to the decision point, to how that started, which is ultimately, we're talking about the origin story behind Dads in Business, which is now a community of what, almost 2,000 dads who are in business, right? And this was what, 4 years ago, three and a half, 4 years
4 years
ago,
ago next month. Yeah.
4 years ago. Okay. So you built a community of 2,000 people, insanely influential, tremendous people in that organization. I personally have benefited from so many relationships that have come out of that. Let's go to the beginning. Where does it start? What strikes you? How do you make the decision?
Well, it's
Because you
kind of,
didn't
I
set
think,
out. You didn't set out and say, I'm going to build a community of 2,000 people.
I'll tell you what happened. I was the guy that took the first step. That's it.
Yeah.
That was it. I,
Yeah.
I did it. I said, guys, let's get together.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And just stayed on that. I didn't think of a wild, crazy idea that no one had ever thought about before.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be around other guys and gal, people that can help them in some way, the people that are at their level or above,
Yeah.
right? That they
Yeah.
can benefit something from, that they can offer something to. Everybody knows that they need to surround themselves with the right people.
What, one of the things like that, I love the way you just summarized that. You're just the guy that took the first step. So many people here on this call, again, powerful, powerful people with tremendous potential, opportunities to do awesome things, thinking about something that they haven't taken the first step, mostly because there's some fear on the other side of what it means to take the first step. It means you're exposing yourself to vulnerability, you're exposing yourself to rejection. What if it doesn't work? What if nobody says yes? What if it doesn't do what I want it to do? I mean, all of that. Walk us through that version of Brian, who is not you today, but
Yeah.
that version early on. Like, okay, I want to do something. I need to take the first step. This thing doesn't exist. I want it to. Take me through all the vehicles, the emotional, the thought process, the
Yeah, I
logistics.
mean, what comes to mind right now, what helped more than anything, I'll say, is that there was a time constraint that, like, I had a date picked out. I said, you know what? I need to put a timestamp on this, give myself a leading goal on that. All right, I'm going to set a dinner. I'm going to call Capital Grill right now. We're going to reserve the private room. I'm going to try to fill this room with 20 dads in business. And I had to send that out at least a week in advance. I think it was a week or it might have been 2 weeks. So it's super down to the wire. And I'm just like, you know what? I put this email together. I had like 5 minutes, I think, before I either had a client meeting or to pick up my daughter. I had to get this email out or I wasn't going to get to it until later in the day. So it was just like, this is it. You have to do it right now. So I couldn't focus on being perfect or pleasing
Right.
anybody. I just had to get the damn thing out to say, all right, guys, hey, I got 20 dads in business that want to get together for dinner. Are you interested? Question mark, control, enter, send. Within a couple hours, I think everybody responded, even with a couple people that they would want to bring to something like that. So putting something in place to say this is when I have to do it by, and then having that commitment, having some commitment in place, forced me to just get it done, and not worry about being perfect. Because for me, like the nice guy in me isn't dead and buried, it's still in there. So it's always a
Right.
constant like, am I just leading with trying to please, or am I doing this for the right reasons, or am I doing it for somebody else? Am I worried? Am I leading with fear of judgment, or am I leading with what I'm trying to accomplish. Um, the I guess
Take us. Let's just unpack that for a
yeah.
second. The what you were trying to accomplish, because I want to make sure, because I don't want to take for granted that I already know a lot of this. And what were you doing, Brian? Like, why was this important to you? Like, you had this idea. I need to get around other people. My life is feeling unfulfilled in certain buckets. And so you have this idea, I'm going to just put a dinner together. But primarily, like, what was driving that for you? What was it you were trying to get out of or provide to?
Connection. It was COVID.
Yeah.
I've just become a father. I'm a business person. So just like everybody on this phone call, I'm looking at emails at 11 o'clock at night sometimes. I'm constantly thinking about the next thing to try to build my business, to do spend time with my daughter. That struggle, the tug of war, as I call it, being pulled by being a father and all that I want to do there and be present as a father. At the same time, I have to take care of business. And it was COVID, as all of us here know.
Yeah.
We weren't getting no checks during COVID
Right.
from anybody else. People were getting paid to stay home and look at their computer screen all day. None of us had that benefit. Of course, it was a great time in real estate too. Um,
Yeah.
but that had kind of isolated me, left me feeling isolated anyways, in that if my friends that I had at the time, if they weren't a father, they didn't understand what I was going through as a father and trying to be there as a father to my 1 or 2 year old kid at the time. And then that same, the business person in me, if when you become a father, I should say, if your friends aren't business owners or parents themselves, then you kind of leave you're not speaking the same language anymore. And so
Yeah.
trying to surround myself with people that understood what it was like was one of the things that I was trying to accomplish. At the same time, those people were also potential friends, but also potential clients for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a part of it was like, okay, there's a double whammy here where if it's somebody that could also become a potential client, then it's worth me investing in this and trying
Mhm.
to put something together to bring people together. I'd always wanted to start some type of a networking group. I had done the Chambers of Commerce, early in my early years in the business, Chambers of Commerce, BNI. Um, Hype was a big one, Metro Hartford Alliance, all these different networking groups,
Yeah.
and none of them felt like my tribe, like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
people. You know, there's people
I know
there
what you
that
mean.
were, you all know like the send out cards guy or gal at the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, you're not part of my bigger vision. You know, are those types of people going to really help you become the person that you know that you're capable of becoming?
Right.
Right. So who do you need to surround yourself with for that? And it's just like, well, it's not about bringing everybody in a room together. What, like the Chambers of Commerce and all those other networking groups is it's about defining more narrowly who the people that you want to be around are.
You know what I think it is, Brian? Like, you're sort of dancing around. You had high standards for yourself. Like, I think one of the things that I'm pulling out of this is that you you knew all those things would work for everyone else, but your standards for the life you were trying to live, for what you wanted to be, for the version of you that was a dad, a business owner, and a father, wasn't being served by the groups that you were being invited into or that were easy for you to get into. And so, in the absence of there being a group for you to walk into, you said, maybe I just need to create my own and take the first step.
Exactly. Everybody on this call, everybody in our businesses that are in the capacity that we're in, right? If we're producers, like we all
Yeah.
have a vision, we all have something inside of us that we're not doing. Like, ask that question. Like, if we are forced to 10x our business today, what would we do if we had to do it? What would we stop doing immediately? What would we do that we have been waiting to do?
Yeah.
That we've been fearful of doing. I was going to say going out there and initially putting the Facebook group together and putting posts out there, even on my personal Facebook group. There was the fear of just like, okay, how are the people in my life gonna think about me getting a bunch of guys together? During
Yeah.
a
Right.
time where woke is a thing, and
Yeah,
I'm
cancel
not here.
culture. Like dads don't need, I understand all of it. Like
You
just
know?
there's a risk, and that is the part that I think is so, it's the unspoken part. And by the way, this isn't a matter of dads or moms, or everybody needs community, but the risk is, if I do this, what if people hate it? What if people don't like it? What if people make it into something that it's not supposed to be? What if people say it's because of this, but it's not because of that? I just crave connection with people who are like me, and I don't want to be judged for that. And yet you have to take the risk, because that, you're right, that is a risk. Like there's a, saying that dads need community is a risk. It's a risk from dad. It's a risk from both sides. Like,
Yep.
that's, there's a judgment that can come from that.
I'll
Not
say this,
inherently, but can.
there will be hate. And
Yeah.
guess who the hate's going to come from? It's going to come from the haters that wanted to do something like that for themselves, but didn't have the guts to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only going to be from the people that see a version of themselves that could have done the same, that they know that they didn't act on.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
wise old adage. I think it's a Stoic philosopher. I can't remember which one, but it was, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah. No. Yeah. Something
PhD.
like that. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
the name started with a P and ended with a Diddy. By the
Yeah.
way, you're in
Something like
Miami.
that.
Before I forget, you should have been playing Bad Bunny instead of Rush.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Good point. Yeah. You're right. You're not wrong.
Um,
You're not wrong.
but I would say I went as far as this when I was posting stuff, initially on Facebook. I thought about excluding people that could see what I was doing. That's how much
Oh, interesting.
I had that in me. Like, it's going to be something you
Yeah.
think about. Like, how is someone going to perceive this? And how are the people on my team in my office going to think about me doing something like this? Like, so
Yeah.
different. Like, dads in business, it could sound like immature in some way, like just guys getting together to have
Yeah.
some fun, but there's a real sense of
What
community there.
what I really love about what you're saying is, and thank you for sharing that, even that nuance of, there were people you thought about excluding. The reason that's so important, everybody here needs to really tune into this part. What Brian's saying is, you're never without fear of being judged, ever. That there are always moments where you're going to do something and share something or be public about something that others are going to judge you for. The thing that you have to remember is that their judgment is actually not your responsibility, but it still doesn't make it any less hard. I mean, I experience it, anytime I'm on a podcast, or anytime Bennett puts a reel up and I watch it, I'm always like, oh, I don't know if I like that, or I don't think that came out the way I want. And I hope people don't think that I'm full of myself, or what. I get into this, you can get into the weeds of it. The truth is, though, that you just have to do it anyway, because in order to get to more people and have the influence that you want to have and become the person that you want to become, you're going to have to confront the failures. You're going to have to confront the haters. You're going to have to confront the parts of you that are showing up in a way that you don't like. All of that requires vulnerability. All of that requires candid honesty with who you are and what you're doing it for. You said that earlier. I think that what you're doing it for is crucial. If the version of you that's going out there is for you, people can tell. They can tell when your service comes from, I'm going to serve so I can get. People can tell.
Hmm.
It's always it's so obvious. We've all been there. Everybody on this call has been on the other side of somebody that is telling you they're going to do something for you, but what they're really saying is, I'll do this for you so you do this for me. And you can hear the second part, even though it's unsaid. Brian, it's one of the things I respect the most about you. In the years that I've gotten to know you, as Dads in Business has grown, as you've grown it from a dinner of 20 people to a community of 2,000, you have resisted the urge, despite the fact that you've had a lot of people around you that have promoted it, that have told you to do it. You've been so powerfully resistant to the urge to turn it into a money grab, even so much as
Kevin.
turning as resisting the urge to turn it into a business networking group.
Mm.
You've honored the mission of that organization to the point, perhaps even to your own detriment at this point. You don't know yet, right? You're still figuring that out. I want to take me through that journey, because how many people have come to you and said, oh, this is how you can make money, this is how you can turn this into something, myself included, who look at it and go, there's opportunity all over this. How do
Yep.
you resist the urge to do that?
let me just say two quick things and get to that is Let Them by Mel Robbins is a good book that I listened to one time, like the concept of the fear of judgment. Do it anyways. You got to do it anyways. Otherwise, you're never going to
Yeah.
do anything. Like you can't
Yeah.
accomplish anything without somebody having some judgment. Um,
Yeah.
do it anyways. And what you'll find out was, I'd say the people that I thought might have judged it the most, like moms out there, actually ended up being some of the biggest advocates because they recognized
Ah,
how big of how important it was for their own husbands to be involved with something like that.
no
Isn't that
question about
something?
it.
So there'll be
My wife has
surprises
often
along the
said
way.
my wife has often said that our marriage was saved by my softball team, right? Because like until I had a community of other dudes that I could go
Yeah.
and hang out with and just be a guy, like not be a leader, not be a husband, not be a like until I had that, I was pent up and not right. Like something was off with me. It was like a needed thing. So 20 nights a year we go out and smack the ball around, get dirty and make fun of each other, and it's a dad thing. Like it's just a thing. It's a thing that works.
But on the purpose question that you had was, I mean, it kind of came to a point pretty early on, even where, we went from a group of 40 to a group of like 500 within like the first couple months. And it was just like, all right, so this is something that's bigger than me just getting a client or two out of this. Obviously, I'm not the only one that's felt like this. Obviously, this is an underserved demographic to begin with. Obviously, there's a lot of good that we can do together. One of my core values is we go farther together. If you want to go fast, go alone, go farther, go together. And so connecting people became, a clear that there was a lot more good that can come from connecting people. A lot of those people ended up being financial advisors themselves. And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, do I want to get in the way of guys that also have a similar mentality to me, that they want to get out there, that they want to serve people for the same reasons I got into the business? These guys have a little bit of that in them. They want to come out here. And as long as they're adding value to the community, then I can't let myself be the bottleneck,
Yeah, dude.
to your
What
point.
I love about that is you literally created this group to build connection. Guys, like pay attention. And Brian said he faced the first inflection point, which was, will I allow other financial advisors in the group? Because as the founder, he could just simply say, none of these guys. And he chose the mission of the group over his own selfish purpose in it, which is it's beautiful, Brian. Because I don't know that I would have necessarily had the strength to do that early in my career. I really don't. I don't know that I would have been like, sure, let's let some other realtors in here. Dad's in business with the mission of building connection between dads who are serving and experiencing the same thing, and then you allowing that to happen, I think is a big. It's again testimony to your commitment to the vision.
I appreciate it. Purpose first, right? And does it
Yep.
add to dads becoming better leaders and leaders becoming better dads? And I want to come back around and acknowledge you for, because of that and continuing to pull on that string, I'm able to connect with guys like you, guys like Chris Kaplan, be able to put ourselves in a room together to think freely and bounce our ideas off each other. You put good people in a room together, great things always happen. The rest takes care of itself. And so and behold, dads becoming better leaders, leaders becoming better dads. Our most recent meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, been around for almost 4 years, but that was really just a short, very clear purpose to be able to weigh any of the decisions to. So a financial
Yeah.
advisor, one of the guys in the group, he's out there putting coffee dates and meetups out in the calendar and the events tab. It's just like, yeah, man, these guys are connected. They're going to be at a higher standard because somebody put them in a room together. I'm not going to let myself get in the way of that. Collab, not compete. Another core value is there's a lot more to be accomplished. We're greater as a whole than the sum of the parts.
I love it. I love it. So this thing starts taking off. You go from 50 to 500, mostly on a Facebook page, right? Like mostly it's a Facebook community. There's people inviting people. People start joining. How do you start to recognize like, oh, wait a second, I might have a tiger by a tail here. Like this is bigger than what I thought it was going to be. And that's probably about when you and I connected. I want to say maybe 3 years ago, like
Hmm.
somewhere in there. I was a member of the group but not participating much, and like we got on each other's radar around like conversation of doing some charitable work through the group. How did you recognize, like, okay, wait a second, I might need to start roping some other people in here?
Yeah, well, certainly I have I'm grateful to have a growing practice myself here in West Hartford, financial advisory. At the same time, 3 years ago, I had just did my first $1 million deal in my business and acquired another practice. And so I was very keen on, retaining clients there and focused on building my business and my team around that. At the same time, I got this other, what was supposed to help me be more present at home now started actually eating up a little bit of my presence at home
Right.
and try to maintain this community. And I've been a member of
Right.
this.
It became another job.
Oh yeah, to some extent, but it was an energy gainer for me, and that's very key. That
Yeah.
it always got me excited. If it gets me excited, then it's not about time management at some point, in our lives. It's about energy management. And we got to spend time with the things that give us energy, even if it takes up more time.
Yep.
So that when I noticed that it started taking away, that I wasn't going to be able to do everything, and the group was going to be better off by having other leadership there, right? It wasn't a Brian Waddell show. This is about guys that can learn from each other. And so Danny Laguerre, and I'm in the business of risk management. God forbid something happens to me, what's going to happen to this group? It's a thing that, has helped enough guys at this point. So that was a phone call to Danny Laguerre. Some of the people in this room, I think, know, to say, hey, Danny, if something happens to me, I want you to have the keys. Our values were aligned, and we had done a couple of events together at that point. And then I recognized that not just from an administration standpoint did it benefit to have more guys kind of in the spotlight, not just from an administration standpoint, but feeding value back into the group, right? If we could say, like, you come into this group, and if you were to spend time with these 5 guys, in the leadership roles that they're in, then you're going to come out as a better version of yourself. You'll have a better marketing strategy. You'll have better, stronger team, like 5 key areas across personal and business life, health, all that stuff. It'll make you a better father and a better leader in business. So I was keen on kind of bringing people into the spotlight that can help in that regard. Chris Kaplan was one, Neil Conlon was
Yep.
another. And, sure
Yep.
enough, we ended up being kind of like the speakers at these events that we would hold, and we were doing 2 or 3 a year. Who, not how is the principle. Like, it's not about how am I going to drive value to this group.
Yep.
Not how am I going to, going to make this a valuable thing for everybody. It's who do I need to step into this with me to do it.
Yep. I love that. And actually, I think I want to give some kudos to Bennett, because I think really Bennett stepped into a role, maybe it was about 2 years ago, where he was sort of saying, like, hey, he's getting a lot of value from the group. He was getting a ton of value. He came to me and he's like, I'm loving this. Like, I'm thinking I want to start to contribute. And again, like, these are the types of things that start to come from these selfless groups. Like, not for compensation, not for a reward. Bennett's joining your vision at that moment and saying, I'm personally getting a lot of value and benefit from this, and I want to start to contribute. So then Bennett steps into a role and starts doing events, right, Bennett? That was the key thing, right? Like organizing a couple of dads events, like simple things, just
Yeah.
places for
Yeah.
us to show up.
Yeah. I mean, you know, piggybacking on a lot of stuff that Brian said, like just going back to earlier in the conversation about the Chamber of Commerce, like, you go to these networking meetings and it's the same 8 or 10 people and it's the same carrot sticks and celery sticks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's okay. And yeah, you may make a lunch date out of it or whatever. But like Brian said, there's no kind of like synergy or like ongoing mission around it. So, when I mean, I can attribute so much of where I am now to the group. I mean, the first thing was coaching with Neil Conlon, and I mentioned, at the meeting where Matt introduced me to my new role on this team about, Neil Conlon's not a real estate coach. He's a life coach. And there's a dude aspect to it, that, of kind of no excuses type of thing. And so coaching with him helped me get involved with, the events and the poker games that we've had at the office, and kind of helping me explore outside of the real estate world what I might want to do. And then so it's been great. And doing those events, I met so many people and so many relationships. And just one other thing, just to go back to, sorry, so I don't have to interrupt the call again, is, I had this idea in 2019. I had a note on my phone. It was dad beer list. And I even shared it with Eric Bergen, who's another financial planner who we all know, who's in the group. And he was like, great idea. And guess what? I never did it.
Yeah.
I had this idea, but I never took that first freaking step and I never did it.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of reasons. There was a little bit of laziness. There's a little bit of never got around to it. There's a little bit of what you said of like, oh, I'm gonna show up at this at a restaurant. What if no one shows up and I buy a bunch of hors
Yeah.
d'oeuvres and nobody shows up? And for whatever reason, I never did it. And then part of it is also there's a certain type of leadership personality where, it's the same reason why I didn't start my own real estate team, which is, I'm kind of a wingman guy. That's what I'm better at. So, I'm better at Matt is the visionary of the team and I help execute. And Brian, you're the visionary of Dads in Business and I help execute. And that's a role I'm comfortable with and I'm good at. And so yeah, for a lot of those reasons, it's been a great group. And like you said, Matt, to not have to be inclusive and not exclusive and not worry about there's 12 real estate agents in the thing and there's four other financial guys and there's if you have an abundance mindset and and you're around good people, there's enough for everybody. So a lot of things going on there that I wanted to share, but that
I
Brian, you
Big,
summarized
big,
that so
big
well.
thank you, Bennett. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for all that you've done and contributed to that group. It has not gone to help me. It's gone to help the community. And you've been a community leader first in all of that. And that's what keeps the ship going.
Brian, as it starts to grow, you start bringing some other people in, right? You start recognizing, okay, the direction of this group is not going to be mine alone. I need to bring some other leaders to the table. And tell us about your vision now. What do you see? What and how do you see this playing out over the next, 12 months, 36 months, 5 years? What's your vision for the group? And staying true to all those core principles, collab, not compete, farther together, purpose driven, dads becoming better leaders, leaders becoming better dads. How do you see this playing out? What's next?
Yeah, what's next is trying to make every decision align with that overall purpose. Dads becoming leaders, leaders becoming better dads. Someone like Bennett in the group, he's had a desire, he's had the idea to do something like this before. I think that's why it's been so as a self-sustaining community effort, is because guys have wanted something like this but didn't know the exact way to kind of just crack the code or to bring it actually together, like the container to put it in, but they knew what to
Yeah.
put into it, right? Bennett knew that, and Bennett's been able,
That's
more
smart.
than very, very most people, um, has carried that forward. There's been so many guys that have kind of come from like nothing that have actually made something pretty significant in like 4 years or less of the group. They're not my ideal clients,
Yeah.
right? I'm not out for gaining a client from the Dads in Business community group itself. I want what it's done for me, what it's done for so many others, is to get them connected with people that help them in some other way in family, life, or business. At the
Yeah.
same time, do we get pulled in the tug of war between business and family? We're left alone, um, and isolated from our own personal interests. So like the double whammy is to be able to do fun stuff together and make it
Yeah.
productive. Continuing that type of a community and expanding it beyond just Connecticut is part of the group's future. So, I know guys across the country that raise their hand and want some version of that closer to home for them so that they can do fun stuff together in person, because in person actually matters when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially coming out of COVID, was part of the growth for this group, was the demand for doing stuff in person together. Real connections only happen when you're exchanging energy with each other. Guys can't just sit and look at each other, staring each other down across a coffee table or through a Zoom meeting. They got to be elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, doing something together, having a shared purpose, albeit for a brief period of time. So that's one thing, is the group going wider, the Dads in Business general community going wider. At the same time, going deeper with the guys that really want to step up, right? And are ready for transformation instead of just connection. And that's going deeper, mastermind experience. The one of the pinnacle visions has always been, if we get a couple chapters set up across the country, we'll pull together a group, of that mastermind, pull out the top 1% that wants to actually go deeper and go bigger. And we charter a jet and go out to Acapulco, get a mastermind overlooking the bay and bring someone like Ed Milet or Tony Robinson. No, sure.
Mm.
Start, aim high and see where you end up. Shoot for the
See
stars,
where you wind up.
hit the
Yeah,
moon,
I love it.
right? But that's where we're going.
So the community going wider, the people that choose to going deeper. I love that. What's your advice to yourself 5 years ago? Knowing what you know now, having gone through this journey, having experienced what you've experienced, having seen the growth of this group, 5 years, 4 years, take me back to what would you tell yourself at the beginning of this journey that you wish you knew then, that you know now, that would have made it faster, better, smoother, less, challenging? Like what
I don't have
advice
to
would you
think
give
too hard.
yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great question. A true coach leader asks that question. This is clarifying for me, sir. So thank you. It would be to stay
yeah,
true to the purpose
love
and
it,
and to not
love it.
deviate from the process and
Yeah,
don't try to, just because you want to make one person happy along the way, change the way that you're doing things.
got it.
I've
Yeah,
unfortunately
yeah.
made
You're
that mistake a few times along the way.
Well, every leader has. Every leader at some point turns the ship slightly in a direction because someone on the boat says we should go that way.
Hmm.
And if it's not in alignment, I love the advice. It's beautiful. Stay true to the purpose. We talk about on the team all the time that if you don't know why you're doing something, it's impossible to ever figure out what it is you're supposed to do next. Like the what is what people struggle with. And the truth is, it's the what is never the question. It's always the why. It's always the why. Because once you know why, the what becomes so clear. It becomes so clear. Oh, I want to do this for the purpose of my family, my kids, the purpose of connection, whatever that is. What do I need to do? I need to start. I need to invite people. There's no way to get there if I don't do that first thing. I love it. You got a couple minutes, Brian?
Go.
I would love to see if we've got some comments or questions from the crew. You have unloaded monster value this morning, buddy. So thank you from my heart to yours. Appreciate you very much. Ginger, what are you thinking about?
Brian, thanks so much for sharing today. I had a couple of questions. One, when you went back to start this group, um, how did you determine what you were going to do? Did you didn't pick just like 5 or 10 people that you knew to invite this group? Seemed like you put it out publicly on Facebook or whatever. You like did more of like a broadcast. Is that right?
Yeah, something. Hey, Ginger, thank you for the question. Something along those lines. It really was. I had kind of been doing it haphazardly without like a clear, defined name for it. It was just doing it. Getting people together for golf or for a cigar or for a lunch or for all these little different tiny groups, and it's just like, well, what if what if we can make something from this? Actually give it some type of a definition and a purpose. And so it was just in the inaugural dinner, literally as many guys as I could think of that were dads in business, um, in sending that invitation out to as many people that I knew off the top of my head, and then putting a container around it. One thing I've been good at is kind of like an integrator of different things. So I'd been part of a Facebook group called the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footers on Facebook.
Okay.
And I had seen them during COVID, especially people were, wanted to go hike all 48 4,000 foot mountains in New Hampshire. And I know about that group because of Chris Grant, right? He sent me on that journey. Funny how life is full circle, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I knew about that group from Chris Grant, and I saw how people would go out and they'd say, "Hey, on Saturday I'm going to be hiking Mount Moriah," and they'd put an event out there, and you could go into that event and you could see the people that were going to be going, maybe or not going to that event, and you can kind of. If you're going hiking a mountain in the middle of the winter in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire or something, you kind of want to make sure they look kind of, familiar or that they look trustworthy.
Well, and
And I'm like,
especially these days that they know what they're doing too, that you're not going out with a bunch of rookies who've never done it before,
oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I saw the value in having a Facebook group as a place to bring people together so that you can coordinate events like that. So that's where the idea for the Facebook group really came was here's a place where I can go put events out there, put it out there to my personal network. And then maybe the game changer more than anything was what I call the community group Blitz now is I took that Facebook group and I shared that on the West Hartford Friends and Neighbors page. I shared that on every page that I can think of. I have a spreadsheet, one spreadsheet that I do maintain or did for a while there, Matt, was all of the community groups across Connecticut. And did I
Powerful
post to
group.
them and when? Because everyone's got a different posting rule, do it once a quarter or it's allowed or not allowed. But as many groups as I could post that to, that's what really took us from like 50 to like that first 500 in those initial days.
Yeah, I
So
had one
it
more
was a little
question.
bit of both.
Yeah, I had another question too.
Mhm.
Did you, as the group grew, did you formalize the group, or is this still kind of like a casual thing? It sounds like you do events and different things. Did you have to like sort of formalize it as a business, or like it,
I have formalized it as an LLC. So it is an LLC
okay.
now. For a while, it was really just, there was some events that I came out of pocket for, and still do to some extent, depending. And, I don't track probably the books as much as I should.
Yeah. So
But
so is it a nonprofit, or is it a kind of a for-profit thing?
well, it's not established necessarily as a nonprofit, and it's certainly not for profit as it is right now. But it was, just a kind of a marketing effort for me. That's how at least I book kept it for the first
Okay.
while, and then I was just like, well, this at some point has to be self-sustaining, and so I did formalize it as an LLC, has a bank account together, and all that. And in the state of Connecticut, acknowledges what's called the common law trademark. So you put a TM at the end of it, and if you can prove that you are the
Yeah.
first one to use it, then the state of Connecticut will acknowledge that. Um, but that's about as formalized as we've come so far. Other than having a separate community group off of Facebook and having some rights around that. Um, yeah, that there's some IP, but
I
we
love the
Thank thank
I Ginger, I love the like sort of logistics questions around it. It's smart. Because at some point, right, Brian, you did start, there did start to become revenue tied to it for certain events, and right, like so, like you said, there was a it was a marketing effort until it was bigger than that. So you then had to take the next step, right? So
right.
some right now, I mean, I think for the vast majority of people listening, the question is like, what is the thing that you would start? Knowing what Brian did here is create something that I love the language, by the way, Brian, that you put around it. You knew there were people that had something to contribute. They just didn't have the container to put it in, so you created the container. So
Yep.
I love that like visual and that language, because it's true. Like that was the thing. There's these guys out there that had the same desire, need, opportunity that you had. They just never had a place to put it. And the traditional means of doing it, whether that was some sort of, built in a box business networking group, or even a sports team or some other thing, just didn't tie these things together. Like, hey, I'm doing business and I've got this life balance that I'm trying to achieve as a father. Where do I go deploy all this energy and get community around these two core things that are important to me? I
Yep.
love how you phrase
Yeah, if
that.
I can add one more thing that I think might be relevant here too. So in my business, the financial business, more than a lot, has compliance to deal with. I can't just go out there and talk about my business. And, I mean, it's really, I call it social suicide. If you were to go on a social site and lead with product, if all you're doing is talking about
Yeah,
product or professional, you're tuned out, right?
yeah.
Community group
All right.
marketing is like the sidecar, and to allow people to get to know, like, and trust you, to figure out, you have to cross that barrier before you get to any of what you actually do first.
I mean, our industry is the worst violator of what you just described. The whole like, look at me, look what I just did. I just sold that. Like our industry is the worst at that. I often joke like the real estate business is the industry that launched glamour shots. Like, what's important to you is not as important as the picture that I put on the park bench. So cannot agree with you more about how important it is to start with community and contribution before you start with look at me and look at what I just did. Yeah, I love it. Nargia, you've been so patient. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. So Brian, thank you so much. There's so many golden nuggets. The whole call was like filled with them. But the tool that I can really pinpoint that I can apply to my life is the part what you said, when you were thinking about intentionality and, spending time with people around you and choosing those persons to help propel you in different aspects of your life. It reminds me because right now in the transitioning from myself in terms of who I align myself with, but it reminds me that I have a piece of a homework to do because I now have to find out what is it that I want to be better at, what areas that I need to see improvement on, and then go out and seek those professionals or those persons in those aspects doing what I want to do. So it's not just blindly going out and getting a group of people together, but it's being intentional, doing a lot of self-searching, self-seeking to see, what do I want? I want to be a better wife, a better mom. I want to lead in a real estate business. And then you go to that step of intentionally finding those buckets to fill. So I want to thank you for that. That has been like a light bulb just went on when you said that. Like, hey, you're going around the wrong way. You need to first sit down, do the self-searching, do that fix internally, and then you can align with those people around you. So I really love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nargia. I really appreciate your words of kindness there.
And then the
Thank
second
you.
one was the perfection. The perfection. I struggle with that too. I have so many ideas, so many things that I want to do, and I know I can be tremendous at it. But it goes back to I have that little people pleaser inside of me too, trying to figure out I don't want to do it. I don't want these people to see me do it, or they're gonna judge me. And so it's just to block that part out. And it's been tremendous. A reminder. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your words of encouragement. If I could just say, we all have to figure out what we don't want first, the way I see it. And as we change so that we can clarify what we do want, it's not about like the Michelangelo analogy it's not how am I going to build this thing? It's what do I got to get rid of first? Like, let's get rid of what's not Michelangelo's David and we'll be left with the masterpiece, right? So the process of elimination in all of that, there will be resistance with what's left. That was a constant kind of thing for me, always is just like as I change, people around me are going to notice I'm changing. It's going to worry them because they're not going to know how to deal with that. And that's just part of the resistance. People are going to naturally want to hold your growth back. And it's not for any fault of their own, but a natural human thing. You have to go against the resistance. You have to see the purpose through the resistance. And at the end of the day, this was an analogy that was also shared with me recently is would you rather have 100 pennies or 4 quarters? Right, focusing on quality over the quantity. Thank you, Nargia.
See the purpose through the resistance, Brian, is gold. It's absolutely gold because you nailed it in summarizing. As you change, people around you will notice. You notice less. You just are being true to yourself. When you're true to yourself, what happens is you're changing, but it feels like you're in flow. And then the people around you notice the change and they do kind of show up and without intention, they're not designing to be a roadblock or a barrier, but they start to sort of pull back a little bit. They pull you back. They don't want that different version. It feels uncomfortable for them. And leaders keep going, right? Just keeps taking steps. Some of us have harder, resistance than others. Some of us, it may be in a spouse or a family member, in which case that's a really, really challenging thing to overcome. It's still part of the human growth journey. So I love that. See the purpose through the resistance. Thank you. Shakara, you take us home today, Shakara. Bring us to a conclusion. Tell us what you're thinking. Thank you for putting your hand up.
Thank you, Brian, so much for sharing. This question is probably a bit simpler, but I've initiated the start of some groups and then I'm in like this and now what place. So I just wanted to know how do you structure things as far as like how you meet, how you decide what you're going to do when you meet, what types of meetings you have, when, things like that.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for the question, Shakara. By the way, I'd be glad to connect offline too.
Yes.
And I mean that to call me, Matt, if you want to send my contact over. My only suggestion would be don't try to do too much. Don't hamstring yourself. Just do something good once, capture as much as you can of it so that you can share it in a group and start creating interest and demand for the next thing that you do. But maybe less quantity, again, more quantity, would be my suggestion with that. And how I would structure that would be, I mean, it could be as simple as something like once a quarter, have a defined meetup. I got a ton of ideas I can share with you, in a couple minutes on the phone on that. Absolutely.
What I think you've done really expertly, Brian, as the group has grown. By the way, I put Brian's cell phone number in the chat. So if you guys want to reach out to him and just, have any questions, especially if you've got, obviously questions around financial planning or putting, even if you have clients that are looking for services, Brian is a spectacular resource for that. So I do want to make sure that doesn't go unspoken. But one of the key elements around sort of how you've allowed the group to grow organically is allowing some of those meetups to exist without you.
Yeah,
the key, Shakara, as you build an organization that's true to purpose, is that in the beginning, Brian sort of said, let's just have some dinner, get cigars, whatever. I'm not a cigar guy. I'll never go to a group of guys having a cigar. I think they're disgusting. Wake up the next morning and feel like a cat shit in my mouth. Like, I don't want any part of that. There are other things that I'll participate in, but I'm not going to the cigar thing. But there are guys that are into cigars. There are also guys that are into poker, and like whatever it is, it's fine. Brian's allowed the group to organically grow and is comfortable as the leader, even not insecure as the leader. And I think that's the key, is like, again, that collaboration over competition is such a key element to that, to being comfortable with the idea that I'm going to build a community where people are going to, as long as they're true to the purpose, dads becoming better leaders, leaders becoming better dads. If they're true to that purpose, then there's really no need to be in the middle of all of it. You created the environment. Now, again, this is a 5-year journey for Brian, not overnight. For each of us, you just have to take the first step. What is the thing? What is the container that people have something to put into? Is it gardening? Is it chess? Is it bowling? Whatever. What is the container that you can open up for people to show up in and stop being the bottleneck. Don't be the lid to the container. Open the lid and let people contribute.
Bingo. Yeah, I'd rather trust it than control it.
Yeah. It's a better way to live your life, candidly.
Yeah. Matt, I so appreciate you, your team, like everybody on this call. Like, there's a reason why the Miale team's the best in the country. And there's a reason why people follow you, Mr. Miale, is because you are a leader.
Well, thank you, sir. Brian, how can we help you today? Before we wrap up, our final parting. There's something that we can do for you. You have poured into us. You have been a contributor at a really high level. What can we do for you? Is there something we can follow? Is there a place we can show up? Is there a person we can recommend? And what is on your mind right now that if this group of powerful real estate agents and leaders could show up and support you, what is it? What can we do for you?
I'd love to see what I can do to help you guys again, I guess. I don't know you enough. I don't know everybody on this call well enough to ask for any kind of help other than, if there's something that you think I might be able to help with, don't hesitate to reach out. Obviously, could offer a whole lot in the world of finance. We specialize in working with business owners and a lot of solopreneurs and self-starters, all that stuff. There's a lot that we could probably share on that. If we did a workshop at some point in the future, maybe we can help sponsor an event that you have, a team type of an event. You let us know.
Brian, do you have a Google page? Like a Google reviews page or something like that?
So that's strictly a no-no in our business, unfortunately.
Oh, you're not allowed to do that? Okay. All right.
But
all right.
Yeah, any question, there's no question too big or too small, especially around this time of year with taxes and all that. Always happy to even whether it's me or a member of my team, answer any questions that you might have in the world of finance, obviously. But
Brian,
I want to help first. So just keep jabbing.
You're the best, man. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your contribution this morning. You made a difference today. You filled a lot of cups, man. So there is a whole lot of gratitude coming your way. Thank you. Thank
all you guys. I appreciate it. I look forward to being in touch again soon. Ben,
great
to see
team.
you. Great to see everybody here.
I think You guys know the drill. It's Friday. That means it's open house weekend. That means it's time to get up, get out, get it going, and do the thing. Sign, sell, set. You know that's the only thing you've got to do in order to have a wildly, wildly successful business. So do all the stuff that needs to happen and do what Brian said. Just get started. Just start. It's actually that simple. Nothing is going to happen until you start. So go take that first step today. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing weekend. And I will see you all next week.